subsidiary of Applied Software created to provide world-class training for professionals in the building design, civil engineering, and manufacturing industries. LiveLab offers live instructor-led training via web delivered by knowledgeable instructors with real-world experience in the industries they support. My name is Linda Netzer, and I'm glad to be your moderator today. Throughout our presentation, we encourage you to interact with us by typing in questions and comments using the questions pane. We'll be answering questions at the end of the presentation. We are recording today's session and will make the link to the recording available to you via email after the presentation. We want to keep the conversation going following today's event. For information on future LiveLab sessions, please visit us at livelablearning.com or search for LiveLab Learning on Facebook and like our page to receive the latest information and special offers on upcoming training opportunities. Let's get started. Please join me in welcoming today's speaker, Mark Petrucci. Mark has a BS in Civil Engineering. He's our Senior AEC Application Specialist here at Applied Software. He has over 20 years of AEC experience. He's got a couple of consulting specializations. He's our Autodesk Consulting certification. He's a certified professional in Revit. He's a certified professional in AutoCAD. And he also helps us with product support. Thank you so much for joining us today. Mark, take it away.
Great. Thank you, Linda. Linda, thanks for introducing me and going down my bio. But really what I want everyone to know is that I started with AutoCAD in the early 90s, right around 1987 actually. Been using AutoCAD and then Revit since the mid-2000s. So really what's more important is the experience that myself and many of the other technicians at Applied Software that we bring to the table. So today's agenda, we're going to go through, we've already done our introduction, so we're going to talk a little bit why Revit. We're going to talk a little bit about the Revit roof commands and how using Revit and many of the commands that are inside Revit help you produce construction documents quicker, but also help you with the design process. We'll also briefly mention what we will and will not cover today and topics that may come up in future webinars. And then we'll run through some examples or I'll show you some pictures that I found on the internet, and then we'll run through some examples. And then finally we'll finish up with just talking a little bit more about our training and some upcoming classes. All right, so for those of you out there, there's still a lot of people out there using AutoCAD. I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time talking about AutoCAD versus Revit or AutoCAD versus BIM. I know you like AutoCAD. I was one of those guys for many, many years, and I just want you to know that whatever you've created inside of AutoCAD, some of that work can be used inside of Revit. I know you're fast in CAD, but I know we can make it faster in Revit. So I don't want you to feel that because you don't have Revit that things you're going to see today that you're way behind. We can get you up to speed so that you can start using the power of Revit for some of your design work. So this is the Revit interface, and I kind of brought this up because for those CAD people out there are a lot of CAD people, old-timers like myself, we learn CAD with a black background, and Revit has a different look and feel. It's got a white background, and I kind of associate it to this iceberg picture you see here on the left. We only see the very top of the iceberg. There's a lot more to the program, and so I'm going to show you some things today. And they may seem like little things, but you'd be surprised at how many people may not be aware of some of the options when using Revit and the Revit roof command. So the Revit roof command. There are actually three ways of creating roofs inside of Revit. And I'm kind of starting with the least used option, which is roof by face. And we'll use this when we start creating a roof that is not flat and may have curves in multiple directions. These numbers here, I'm saying 0 to 5% of the time you might use this. In residential, probably closer to 0. Roof by extrusion. I will show you how to create a roof using the extrusion option. This one doesn't get used as often, but still very powerful. I can define a shape to a particular roof and then have it extruded in a particular direction. And the one that we'll use most often is roof by footprint. And what's great about this is that using the roof by footprint, as I'm creating my residential home, I start pushing and pulling and moving walls around. My roof is tied to my walls, and so that helps me with the design process, that I don't have to continue to update one floor plan and then go and update the corresponding roof plans and roof elevations. I simply can work on my Revit model, and I know that my roof will automatically update with my plan. And we probably use roof by footprint 90 to 100% of the time. Only because it's part of the roof commands, I'll show you a little bit about putting in soffits, fascias, and gutters. Gutters, very easy. You know, show you in 1 second how to put gutters in, very, very quick and very easy. Fascias are just as easy, where you might have fascia that joins in a particular area, you might have to miter it a different way, and a lot of people don't know how to modify mitering when it comes to fascias, so I'm going to show you that. Soffits are a little tricky if you haven't done soffits and you kind of have to figure it out. It's really not that bad. Once I show you how to do that, you'll be able to put in soffits pretty quickly and pretty easily. So we're going to take a look at the roof by footprint option used most often. And we won't go through every single one of the options in this command. We will save that later for another webinar so we can get into more detail on the roof by footprint command. We will talk about the line and the rectangle and using this little button right here called pick line and this little button right here called pick wall. There's a specific reason why we have those, as well as the boundary line and slope arrow. We'll talk about that. And I always seem to forget about talking about this options bar right here. Settings in here that we go to often when we're working on our roof. So we're going to be using Revit 2014. For those of you that have Revit Architecture 2014, everything you see here applies to that. I have not downloaded any special programming. Everything that I'm doing today is out of the box. So there's nothing special, no third-party programs. We will look at some specific roof forms that we'll create. Again, we'll use the roof by footprint, use the slope arrow, and I'll show you roof by extrusion. What we won't cover is the roof by face, which is an advanced topic. I need to first, show people how to use massing inside of Revit before we can start placing a roof on a mass. Second, this question always comes up from residential guys. How do I do framing? Can I do framing in Revit? Well, the answer is there is no framing command directly inside of Revit. We do have Revit structure, which allows me to put in beams and columns and bracing, bar joists, things like that. But framing that you see here, there is another program that we would recommend called MWF, and I'll talk a little bit about that towards the end. We also will not cover detailing. Detailing is all two-dimensional. It's all in the details and how to connect your roof to the wall and your soffit and your fascia. So we won't spend any time talking about detailing. We also won't cover the materials that make up the roof. When it comes to creating a roof in Revit, it doesn't matter what the materials are. Obviously, different materials will have different thicknesses and different ways of installation. But as far as making a roof in Revit, I can quickly change from one material to another. So the materials are not important. And what's important here is just the forms and how we work with the forms inside of Revit. So we won't be covering anything with materials. This also comes into renderings. A lot of times we want to do some 3D renderings. Well, we want to make sure we have the correct materials applied. We won't be talking about that today. All right, so first thing that I want to clarify, and this is a common misconception with Revit, and even experienced Revit users, it's too easy for us to fall into this trap. Not everything in Revit has to be 3D, and you kind of have to determine, okay, what is a good level of detail? How much of this should I do in 3D, and can I do any of it in 2D? For example, in this picture here, you'll see a standing metal seam roof, and do I really need to see the seams in 3D? Well, I could probably get away with putting in a flat metal roof with a hatching pattern assigned to it that draws the lines for the seams. But they're not 3D, but they represent where the standing seams are. If you wanted to put in a three-dimensional standing seam, you could. It takes some work to do it, and you kind of have to decide, okay, do I have the time, the experience to do that? and what is my ROI on that? And there's many times where we overmodel, and that's probably one of the biggest problems with people when they first move over to using Revit is that they overmodel. So we want to be smart. We don't want to model everything that's going on our roof. Some things we can do without. All right, let's still be honest here. Let's just talk about what we can do with Revit. Here's some images. I just got on Google and I just typed in roofs, residential roofs, and saw a bunch of them pop up and thought, let's see, which ones would be easy to do inside of Revit? Well, this would be a pretty easy one. Not too much to this, and you're like, well, okay, I can do that in CAD. Well, maybe you can, maybe you can't. I would still challenge you and say I could still do it faster in Revit. I could still benefit doing it in Revit versus CAD. But then I can get into some more complex roofs. And looking at this, this is not difficult. This I can do inside of Revit. If I have a good footprint and I understand how to work with my roof elevations, I can create this roof form right here. So I wanted to bring up a few more examples. Our hip roof, our gable roof, our roof over our porch. Right here, we have a couple gables right here that are kind of stacked right in front. Hip roof right over here to the left. You can do all that inside of Revit. This roof right here, very easy to create inside of Revit. This is a really nice, I like this shot here. There's a lot going on here. And basically, I can create this roof inside of Revit using some hip roofs. I could use an extrusion, which you might see here. This could be an extrusion or this could be a gable right here on the left side. Right here with this curved roof, that's definitely an extrusion. That is not a roof by footprint. So we'll take a look at that and I'll show you how to create that inside of Revit. And I really like this picture. I thought this was an attractive looking home. A lot of things going on in this home. Not only do we have our gables and our hips, but I've also got this curved roof coming around right here, which I thought was really, really interesting. I'm actually hoping to try and track down the floor plans and maybe create this inside of Revit just to kind of demonstrate, what we can do inside of Revit. So roof forms. Really, they're just some basic roof forms that are available out there. The easy ones that we can work with are like our gable roof and our hip roof. Pyramid roof, very easy. Flat roofs, very easy to work with inside of Revit. Still easier, some of these other ones like our salt box and our cross hip and our cross gabled roof. Then we have our Mansard roof and our gambrel roof, which look a little harder to do, and they're not hard to do. Inside of Revit for years, people have done them different ways. I'm going to show you how to do that with just using the slope arrow. And really, if you look at those former pictures, it's a combination of these different roof forms that you see here. So it's a matter of, hey, how do I put these together when I'm creating a roof inside of Revit? So I brought this up, some things that I wanted to focus in on that usually these are support questions that have come in and people are struggling with, hey, how do I make this work? So we'll look at just putting in a simple gable. And then we'll take a look at maybe having this stacked gable that we see here. Dormers. This question always comes up, and it comes up both from residential architects as well as high school and college students who have questions on how to create dormers inside of Revit. So I'll show you how to create a dormer. We'll also, if we have a little time, I'll create a dummy dormer as well. Dummy dormers are really simple to do. So we'll take a look at that. And the last thing here, this is a reminder for me. Right here at the very bottom of this gable, I have this little short eave right here. Inside of Revit, when we start creating our roof, what we do is we take this eave and we apply a slope to it. Well, from here, if I apply a slope, it will create this roof right here for me. Well, if I go to my next slide, you'll see that I don't have a flat edge to create this gable. So I need another way of doing that. In the past, people have tried to put in a little tiny line to try and create that, which we don't need to do that. We can use a slope arrow to help us create this gable end. So we'll take a look at an example on how to do that as well. Our half hip. I thought this was really interesting. When I first learned Revit, I didn't learn how to put in a half hip roof. And I was driving home one day and I saw this and I thought, you know what, I know I can do that in Revit. Not hard to do. Maybe not intuitive, but once I show it to you and you see how to do it, then you'll never forget how to create a half-hip roof. So we'll take a look at an example of how to do that as well. And finally, I saw this gazebo out here, and I thought, oh, you know, let's take a look. Let's create this double slope roof that's on our gazebo. So we'll take a look at that. That's a quick example. I can get through that very, very quickly. All right, so enough pictures. Let's go ahead and let's get into Revit, and let's take a look at some of the stuff that I've been talking about. So I'm going to go ahead and switch over to Revit. And in here, what I've got is I just put in a basic building, and I always tell people when you're going to start designing, especially with roofs, you know, and you don't understand all the options inside the roof command, start with the simple design, and then make sure you understand the different options. Then we can put them all together into a, when we start using a complicated footprint. So I'm going to go ahead and switch to a 3D view just so you can take a look at what I've got here. I'm going to spin this around. And so over here I've got my half-hip roof. Right over here I have my gambrel roof. And then right here I have this gable end right here. Now later we'll see this again in a building where I have the roof completed with soffits, fascias, and gutters. But I want to show you quickly in here how we can do this. And I'm going to start from here and just work my way across. So I'm going to first go to my roof plan view. And in this particular case here, I'm going to go ahead and apply roof. So I'll go up to my architecture tab. I'll select roof. And immediately this grays out. And this is a question people always ask me. It's like, you know, why does it gray out? Well, it grays out on purpose because now I can't accidentally delete anything. My walls that I click on, I cannot delete them. Oops, let me get rid of that line for now. If I try and touch on them, I can't. If I try and move them, I can't. I'm in a mode now where I'm actually creating a roof. So I want to create a boundary line. Now, some people might come in here and just start drawing individual lines. And I can do that, but that would take me some time to trace it around, and I might accidentally draw a line that's not horizontal. And so I'm going to go ahead and delete that. I can do a rectangle command, and I can do this real quick and easy. But for me to do that, I don't have a correct offset from my my walls, and I wanted a consistent offset, so I'm going to go ahead and delete that. So I have my pick line tool, and I'll go ahead and use my pick line tool. Now with the pick line tool, I can go ahead and just touch on a wall, and it will draw right on that wall. But as you can see, I want to offset it. So right up here, I do have an offset option, and I'll put in here just a simple 1-foot offset. Some of you guys out there who've done roofs before, you already can tell that, you know, there's a better command than this option up here, pick line. But I'm doing this to demonstrate the problem so people realize it and remember it. So using my pick line tool, I'm going to go ahead and put my 1-foot offset again. I'll go ahead and click once. Now you'll notice as I bring my mouse down, it automatically creates this blue dashed line to show where the eave or the boundary line for my roof is going to be. When you see this on here, my little right triangle with the number, that lets you know what the slope is of this boundary line. Is it going to slope up or is it going to slope down? Well, as I continue to work my way around, it will slope in towards the center of my closed loop here. So what I'll do here is I'll simply just hit the green checkbox, and it's going to ask me, which is great here because I am modeling right now inside of Revit, but I was working in a 2D floor plan view. I went ahead and put a roof in there, and Revit already realizes, hey, wait a minute, you have these walls that go up to the roof. Do you want to attach the walls to the roof? And the logical answer is yes. Sometimes I don't, but I will go ahead and say yes. Let's go ahead and attach it. Now what I've done is I've gone ahead and created a hip roof here. Now when you look at it, you're wondering, you know, what is this missing rectangle here in the middle? This all has to do with something called visibility graphic, or I'm sorry, my view range. So let me adjust that really quick here. And I'm going to change my cut plane, and I'll just go up 20 feet. I think that should be good. And that's pretty good. So there's my hip. And now if I switch to a 3D view, okay, here's the roof I just put in. What I want you to notice was, I'm going to spin this around. If I touch this wall and I move this out, look what happens here. When I do that, the wall moves, but my roof does not automatically update. And so I need a better way. I want that roof to automatically update with my roof. So instead, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back to I'm going to hit undo and get back to my roof plan view, and I'm going to erase these lines that I just put in. Instead, what I'm going to use is this pick wall tool. And I've seen people ignore this tool. This tool is real important because this will tie my roof to the walls. And if my walls move, the roof will also move. If the building stretches, the roof will also stretch. So I'll go ahead and hit the green checkbox here. I get the same question. Everything looks the same, and it looks like I undid my view range. So I'll just fix that real quick. And I'll switch back to my 3D view. Now you'll notice if I went ahead and I grabbed this, I just pull this out, you'll notice how the roof is automatically stretching with my wall. So from a design standpoint, I don't have to remember to go and update my roof plan. The roof is updating automatically. Now there may be times that I'm moving some walls and Revit will come back and say, you know, it can't create the roof. It's going to detach a wall. Well, if it does it, that's okay. We can go back and fix it. But at least Revit is notifying us that, hey, I'm creating some sort of a design option that the original roof can't work. It can't fit. So I'm going to go back to my roof plan options. Now what I want you to notice from a design standpoint, I just created this simple building and I'm showing the client, and the client says, you know what, I don't like that type of roof. Well, the last thing I want to do is erase this roof and start over. So one of the beauties with Revit is at any time I can touch on a roof, I can come up here and hit Edit Footprint. And you know what, I'm one of those guys that have my heart set on gable and roof. So I can touch this line right here, this boundary line. It has a slope on it. If I look right up here under Properties, I got a little check. I could uncheck Define Slope. And I can do the same thing right here. Click on that left boundary line, uncheck Define Slope, and I'll hit the green checkbox. Now when I switch to my 3D view, boom, I'm done. Imagine, if you will, if I had an elevation of this side of my house and I had an elevation of that side of my house. The elevation has been updated automatically. So that's the whole beauty here now, is I just put in a gable roof. I didn't have to erase the original one, and I changed it from a hip to a gable. Now another nice feature that I can do is, again, from a design standpoint, I can actually just kind of drag this roof up and down and say, you know what, maybe I want a little bit steeper, maybe not as steep. So from here, I can quickly update my design by looking at it visually to see what looks pleasing. How does this all fit together? Now, if I do this and I come over and take a look at my properties, my slope, it's a very funny slope. And let me just kind of exaggerate that, because I'm going to exaggerate it more. So you take a look at my slope over here on the properties. It says 25 feet 7 and 73 over 256 of an inch over 12. Well, if I was to document this now in my construction documents, it would show me that slope, and the contractor would just kind of laugh at me. So I want to put in some easy numbers that the contractor could work with. So I could round it to 25, but I'm going to go ahead and round this down to 9. What I see a lot of Revit people do, they'll come in here and they'll highlight just this section here, and they'll type in the number 9, or 9 inches. You don't have to do that. You can replace this whole line and just simply type in 9. Hit Enter, and then Apply. And now I've assigned a specific slope to that. Well, then how do I compensate for this little area right here? So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to go ahead and edit this roof. I'm not going to erase. I'm going to go ahead and hit Edit Footprint. And I'll switch back to my floor plan view to take a look at this. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually remove the slope on these lines. I'm going to come up here and uncheck Define Slope. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and use a slope arrow instead. And so with the slope arrow, what I can do is I can say, you know what, from this edge up to here, and I'm going to go up, I'm going to say, I'm going to go up 8 feet. Or I guess I'll go up 10 feet here. So I'll go up 10 feet, and then from here, I'll put in another slope arrow, and I'll come up here 10 feet. And I'm looking at that, and I'm like, you know what, that's probably not enough. I'm going to come up a little bit more. I'm going to bring this up to, I'm going to put a 12, and I'll bring this up to 12 right here. And let me change that to 12 real quick. So now what I'm telling Revit is on this edge, give this a slope and give this a slope. Well, what is that slope? If I select this, if I select the slope arrow, I can come over here and I could decide on how I want it to slope the roof. I'm going to select the slope option and I'm going to use a 9/12 slope. That's what I had before. If I finish this off, it's going to look exactly like my last roof. However, now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and split this line. I've actually now got 3 line segments here. This line segment, there's one here, and then there's one underneath this slope arrow. Now what I can do is I can touch on this small segment right here, and I can go ahead and define a slope to that. And so now if I go ahead and hit the green checkbox, I'm going to get a message about the walls can't join. And then I'll get this message that says, hey, wait a minute, I can't make this roof. It's like, oh, wait a minute, I forgot to do something. Well, I went ahead and broke the line over here. I'm going to do the same thing on this side. So I'm going to do one more break, and I'll come up to 10 feet here, and I'll come up to 10 feet over here. And I'm just going to double check that measurement. And that measurement is way off, so I'm going to go ahead and correct that. And I'll pull this down right there. Now what I'll do is I'll go ahead and hit the green checkbox. It looks like I'm going to have that same trouble again. Let me do this real quick. I'm going to erase this line and quickly do this. Oh, I went on 12 feet, that's why. And I'll start here, 12 feet again, and right there. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to uncheck this so I don't have a slope on there, and I'll do the same thing on this one. Now, so now here's the last thing that I need to do. I need to tell it what the elevation is for where this slope is going to start. And so if I go ahead and select on this line right here, you'll notice right here it says plate offset from. So I'm going to update this, and I'm going to say let's do an offset of maybe 6 feet. And I'm going to click on this side, and I'll do another offset. And I'll change that to 6 feet as well. So I'll go ahead and hit the green checkbox. It looks like I'm still having a problem here. So I'm actually doing something. I'm rushing through this, so I apologize. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to go ahead and cancel this, and I'm going to come up here to this one that I did earlier. And I realized I was using my slope arrows on that one, which I didn't have to. Kind of got ahead of myself. But in this particular case, I had the same exact situation. I have these short little lines. I have my plate offset at 6 feet. This slope is only for this little line segment, whereas this one right here is for this entire width of my building. So I hit my green checkbox here. It'll finish this off. And same thing would apply down here. I realized I also made this building a little bit wider, which kind of threw me off. So easy enough, I can fix that. So next thing we'll take a look at is this mansard roof. Now the mansard roof, this one I will have to use slope arrows. For those of you who use AutoCAD architecture, you can put in a double sloped roof inside AutoCAD architecture. Well, in Revit, we can do the same thing here. And to be honest, it's easier to do this inside of Revit because I still have one roof, whereas inside AutoCAD architecture, I have to work with roof and roof slabs. So I'm going to do the same process that you see here down here to create this roof. I'm going to go ahead and start my roof command. And I'll go ahead and use the pick wall tool with a 1-foot overhang. Now, I don't need any slopes coming around here, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to uncheck define slope, and I'm going to select this wall. Now, a lot of times people don't realize this. This is a simple enough floor plan for me to click on the 4 walls. But a nice quick way to go around the entire perimeter of your home is to simply hover over one wall, hit the Tab key, and then the left click, and it will go completely around the perimeter of your residence. So now what I'm going to do here, very same process. I'm going to come up here and I'm going to split my line right here. I'm going to come here and I'm just going to come up here, and I guess I'll come up 6 feet. And I'll do the same thing on this side so I don't forget. And actually I went 6 feet 6, so let me hit undo real quick. And I'll come over to here. And I'll come up 6 feet here, and I'll come over here 6 feet as well. So now I have 3 lines here. I'm going to go ahead and select my slope arrow again. So I'll pick from here, and I'll go to the end points. I'll start again down here up to the end point. And I'll create a slope arrow. Now I didn't have to break it here. I'm going to go right to the midpoint. And I'm going to do another slope arrow and come right to the midpoint there. Now what I can do is I can say, you know what? I showed you how to create a slope using the slope arrow. I came over here and I said, let's do a slope, and I'll do a slope of 12 over 12. 12 over 12. So that's one way to do it. Well, to change the slope, I can touch on the slope, these 2 slope arrows right here in the middle, and instead of going to slope, I can specify the height at the tail and the height at the head. So at the tail, I'm going to go ahead and put in here 6 feet, and at the head, I'll put in here 8 feet. And then I'll hit the apply button. Now when I hit the green checkbox, it'll ask me, hey, do you want to attach the walls to the roof? I'm going to go ahead and click yes. And when I switch to a 3-dimensional view now, I've got my umbrella roof right here. So the last thing that I'm going to show you is how to put a gable in line with our eaves here. So I'm going to go back to my floor plan view, and I'm going to start the roof command. And you see it's pretty much the same procedure, and I'm just going to hit the Tab key to go around the entire building. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead, and I need to break this boundary line down here. So I'm going to go ahead and use my split element tool, and I'm just going to come over, I'll say 10 feet, and I'll come over 10 feet this way. And again, here's that famous slope arrow that I'm going to use. So from here, I can go right to the midpoint of that line, and again to the midpoint of this line. And what I'll do is I'll just make sure that I've got a slope here of 12 over 12. So I'll go ahead and change that from slope to 12. And the other thing that I want to make sure is that I go ahead and change the slope on my other sides. I didn't add a slope, so I'm going to come up here and hit define slope. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and make sure everything is at a slope of 12 over 12. Now I want to go ahead and hit the green checkbox and get the same question about attaching. And if I switch to a 3-dimensional view, there is my roof slope. So those few commands that I just showed you allow you to create some of those complex roofs that we've seen before. Now, when the roofs start changing elevation, there's some additional work that we have to do. But let's take a look at our next drawing, which is number 2 here. And I'm going to show you how we handle when we have multiple gables, how they stack up, because they don't quite work the way you expect them to work initially. And you'll see why, and there's a really good reason for it. But I'll show you how we can make the gables line up, and then I'll show you how to work with dormers. So 2 different ways, 2 different design options. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go first to my second floor plan view. And in my second floor plan view, I'm going to go ahead and just simply put in a gable roof. So using my roof command again, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to define a slope on 2 sides. I'm going to define a slope on this side, this side, this side, and this side. My gable ends, I'm going to uncheck the slope, and I'm going to simply click, and here's the very front, here's the back of the house, and then I'll pick here and here. I will have to clean this up a little bit using my trim to corner. And I'm going to go ahead and switch to a 3D view before I finish this off. There's my sketch. When I hit the green checkbox to finish, Revit's asking me, it says, hey, do you want to attach the walls to the roof? Yes. So I'll go ahead and do that. But there's a slight problem here. And it's not real obvious till you take a look at it. But you'll notice that my roof and my wall are pretty much right here. It's flush. And there's actually a little bit of space right here. There's an opening right behind here. This roof should continue to this wall, as you would see over here. So we're going to show you, I'm going to show you another option for creating a roof. This time, I'm not going to do a roof by footprint, but now I'm going to show you roof by extrusion. So if I go up to my roof command, instead of selecting roof by footprint, I'm going to select roof by extrusion. Now with roof by extrusion, I need to draw on some sort of plane. And the plane I'm going to select is the side of my roof. So I'm going to use the pick plane option. And what I can do now is I could actually use the pick line tool. That didn't work. Roof by extrusion, pick plane, click OK. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and select. Let's do that one more time. It's not registering by extrusion. Pick a plane. Okay, so there we go. So there it is. I'm highlighting this plane right here in blue. So I'm going to go actually click on it. It's going to ask me where to attach that to, what level. Should that attach to the roof level, or should that attach to the second floor level? That's attaching to the same level as this roof that I did right here. So I'm going to use second floor. Now what I can do is I can actually snap to the endpoints of that roof, and I'll hit escape. This is one of the few commands inside of Revit where I'm just drawing a single line, but then Revit is going to apply a roof along that line. And so I'm going to simply come over here and take a look at my properties. My properties right now says extrusion start 0, which means it's going to start right on this edge of this roof. Then it says extrusion end 1'6". I want this to extend out another 1'6". So I'm going to hit the green checkbox. And now this is extended out. But then as I look at this, I'm realizing, wait a minute, there's still a problem here that I need to address. And that's the fact is right here, right back in here, there's still a hole here. So this is how I'm going to resolve that. I'm going to go ahead and touch this roof, go back to my second floor plan view, and I'm going to hit Edit Footprint. So the first thing I have to do is I have to take this line, and I have to move it up against the house. And actually, I'm going to go ahead and use the Align tool. I'll go ahead and pick the face, and I'll pick here, and I'll touch this, and then I'll pick here, and I'll touch this. Now I'll hit the green checkbox to finish, and if we switch to a three-dimensional view, now you'll see this has a much better appearance towards it. You'll see that this wall goes all the way back, this roof goes all the way back to this wall. This goes all the way back to this wall, but you notice right here, right up here, I don't have this overhang like I have right here. So I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to do roof by extrusion. I'm going to pick a plane, and it's a little hard to see here. And actually what I think I'll do is I'm going to switch this to a hidden line view because that threw me off before, to make it more clear for you to see this. So I'm going to go to roof by extrusion, pick a plane. When I come over here, I can actually pick on that plane. This is going to belong to my second floor. And now I can draw a line along that plane right here. And when I finish, hit the green checkbox to finish, I now have that little bit of roof that's extending out. Now you might say, well, you know, you see a line there. Well, the line, we can hide the line. If I do a rendering like this, you won't see that line. But in a shaded view, you do see it. So that's just a matter of just coming over to the Modify option and using Join. So I can say, take this roof and join it to that roof. Take this roof and join it to this roof. And so now you have a very similar situation which we've seen in a number of those photos where I have these stacked gable ends. Okay. So now let's talk about dormers, because this question always comes up, dormers. So we want to put a dormer over here. Well, before I can place a dormer, I actually have to create the walls for my dormer, and I have to put a roof on the dormer. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to go ahead and take this roof, and I'm going to hide it right now. I'm going to go ahead and hide this because I've got my walls in here. These walls actually need to protrude up through the roof. Okay, and so these walls right now are not doing that because they're attached to the roof. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to detach them. Now what I'm going to do to make this a little bit easier on myself, it might be a little harder to see, but I'm going to go ahead and bring the roof back. And I'm going to switch this to a wireframe view. And so here's this wall right here. I want to detach it from this roof, and you'll see it pops right back through. Same thing with this wall, and I'll detach it from this roof, and I'll pick this one, and I'll detach it from here. And I'll go back to a hidden line view. So here's the walls that are going to define my dormer. What I'll do is I'm going to go ahead and I'll go to my roof plan view, and I'm going to go ahead and create a hidden line view, and I'll put a gable end roof on here. Very easy to do. Actually, since I'm running short on time, I may go ahead and put in a curved roof, but I'll just show you quickly. I'll do gable real quick here. Roof by footprint. I use my pick wall tool, and the last thing I want to do is go ahead and put in a line back here. I don't know where this roof is going to meet this roof. I don't know where my dormer roof is going to meet my main roof. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and just kind of trim these corners here, and I do want to make sure that these two lines right here do have a slope assigned to them. And I'm going to go ahead and hit the green checkbox to finish. And it's asked me about attaching the walls to the roof. I'm going to go ahead and click yes for now. It's going to look a little bit funny once I get to this view right here. But what I want you to notice is Revit has some tools in here built in so that we can connect this dormer roof to this main roof. And so I'm going to go back to my modify command, and you'll see a tool right up here. It says join unjoin roof. And so I'm going to pick the edge of this roof, I'll pick my main roof, and it's gone ahead and join the two roofs together. Now this is more like a dummy dormer right now because there's no hole in the roof that we see here. I'll hit delete. There's no hole in there. So I need to create an opening. So going back to my roof plan, there is a command I can use. I'm going to switch to my wireframe view so I can see my walls and my roof. There's my roof. And I'll go to architecture, and I'm going to go ahead and select a dormer command. With the dormer command, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to select this roof, and it's going to ask me to go ahead and pick the roof of the dormer. And then I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to select on, I may have picked the wrong one. Hold on one second here. I'll do that again real quick. I'm going to go ahead and pick my dormer. I'm going to pick the main roof. And then I'm going to touch this. There we go. I'm going to touch this dormer roof. And then I'm going to touch my walls here. And then I'm going to go ahead and clean this up. And I have some openings here that I need to close up. If I don't, Revit will let me know. It'll give me a warning message. And now if I come over and I take a look at this in 3D, it may not seem obvious, but if I come over here and I select this roof right here now and I hide it, it's actually cut an opening in the roof for me. It's cut an opening in there. So now I have my I can place a window or whatever I want to do here to finish this off. What I'm going to do here real quick now, just to show you how to do the extrusion, I'm going to go ahead and select, I'm going to hit undo to get rid of the opening, because it's going to be different. And I'm going to select this. And I'll just show you real quick. I'm going to go to my south elevation view and put a curved roof, similar to what we see over here on the left side. I'll simply come over here and I'll do roof by extrusion again. It's asked me to select the plane. I'm going to go ahead and click OK. I'm going to make sure I pick right on this front of this this wall. And now I can just do a curved line. And I'll do a quick roof here. I'm just going to eyeball this real quick just to kind of get through this. And I'm going to hit escape. And what I've done now is I've created the outline for that roof. And it's going to go ahead and apply maybe a wood rafter 8-inch. And I'll hit the green checkbox to finish. Now when I take a look at this in 3D, it's created this short roof here, but same process. I'm going to connect this to the main roof. So modify, and then I'll come over here to join roof, and I'll select back end. I'll select this main roof. Now it's connected to the main roof. The only thing left for me to do is to touch these 3 walls here and to go ahead and attach them to that dormer roof. Very quick, very easy. Now if my customer comes back and says, hey, you know what, let's change the shape of that roof, I don't have to erase it. I can just modify it. This extrusion, I can modify the shape. If I went to the roof by footprint, I could have made some adjustments to the slope. But most of the time, I don't have to start over. I can just simply modify what's existing. All right, so let's take a look at the next one real quick here. And this one right here. A couple things I just want to show you, and I know we're running short on time, so I'm going to go ahead and just show you this. Everything that I just did earlier, same process, creating a gable roof. The only thing I did here was I went ahead and I added some soffits, some fascias, and some gutters. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to go ahead and just simply delete the fascia and the soffit here, and I do want to show you how to apply those. All right, so I have my roof here. Very simple, roof, soffit, fascia, gutter. I'll go ahead and do fascia real quick. All you have to do is just pick on the edge of the roof. Pick on the edge of the roof, it's applying a specific size fascia for me. And I can continue to work my way around and wrap my roof with the fascia. And what I wanted to show you was the problem that we have on how the fascia meets. And I'm going to go ahead and put in one more. I have these little short roof segments here, so I need to do one more thing. I need to go ahead and join this to the main roof. Modify, I'm going to go ahead and hit join. And what I want to show you is how we'll clean up this end right here. So I'll go ahead and put in a fascia real quick. Not that one. I'm going to go ahead and select the existing one. And I'm going to go ahead and add fascia right here. A lot of people see this and they get frustrated with this. This is okay. This is how it's supposed to work, but it's easy enough to fix. All I have to do is if I come over here and I select on the fascia, I can come up here where it says Modify Mitering. A lot of people don't see this. They get frustrated and they just give up on it. You go ahead and click on it, and now it asks me what type of miter do I want to put in there, a vertical, a horizontal, or a perpendicular. I'm going to select horizontal, and I'm going to go ahead and click on this end. And my computer is locked up right here. And I'm going to go ahead and do this real quick here, guys. I'm going to click here, click here. There we go. So I grab this end. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to go ahead and touch it, I'm going to hit Modify Mitering, and I'm going to go ahead and select that. Now it's horizontal. Now it's horizontal. So now it's been cleaned up. And I can continue doing that around the entire building. Last thing I'll put in here is I'll go ahead and grab a fascia, or I'm sorry, gutter. Gutter is real easy to put in. And it's just a matter of just clicking on here. And I can wrap that around. And you'll see that it automatically has cleaned up over here, and I see it cleaned up right there, but it looks like I had some trouble right there. I'm going to hit undo to get rid of that and try that again. There we go. So I went ahead and I automatically got that to clean up. People will ask the question, you know, how do I put caps on here? We'd have to get a family and just cap it. How do I put in a downspout? There's no downspout command, but there's ways putting in downspouts using maybe a wall sweep or creating a gutter family to do that. That was everything that I've covered early on, kind of put together. Let me do this real quick because this question comes up also. This one I want to show you because now we can stack multiple roofs on top of each other. What I've been doing now is I've been working with different roofs and kind of combining them together. I want to show you how we can take two roofs and stack them together. So I'm going to come over to my first floor. Let me go to my north elevation first to take a look at this. So this is what I'm going to create. So I'm going to create actually two roofs. This roof is going to be on the roof layer, the roof level. This roof is going to be on the roof upper level. So sorry about that. So I'm going to show you how that works. So I'm going to go to my roof plan. Now I'm going to start the roof command. Same thing I've always been doing. Roof by footprint. I'll have an offset, and I'll have it go completely around. Now I'm going to simply hit the green checkbox to finish. And we'll take a look at what this has done. So I'm going to switch to a 3D view. So here is my roof that I've put on here. But if you notice, if I take this roof and I delete it, I've got a hole here. There's an option in here where I can just select this, and I can come over here and say, you know what, let's cut this off. Let's cut it off at the upper level. Now, in the roof upper level, I could actually create a roof with a different slope to it. So I'll go to my roof plan, and I'll do the exact same thing here, and I'll start with roof. And this time, I want this roof to start at a different level. I got to move this out of my way. I'm going to start at the roof upper level. And I'm going to have a defined slope. I'm not going to have an overhang, so I'm going to leave this, I'm going to set that to 0. And I'll just use the pick line tool. Now I'm just picking the edges here of my second roof. I'll go ahead and change the slope on that, and I'll make that 16. Let's see what that looks like. And I'll hit the green check box to finish. I'll take a look at this in 3D. Now, I'm almost there. A lot of people see this and they get frustrated. Well, with Revit, it's very easy. Notice it's kind of sticking up just a little bit. Very easy to fix. If I go to an elevation view, all I have to do is come over here and just use my align tool. And I'll pick the lower roof, I'll pick the upper roof, I'll lock them together. And now, you know, I have my gazebo roof, or if I have a castle, you know, castle-like building with a tower, again, there's my double slope roof. Now, another question comes up, people are like, well, what if you want it curved? If you want it curved, okay, there's ways to do that, but we can't do that here with these normal tools that we have. We can use the massing tools to do that. But for now, those are using the basic functions, and using all those functions, every image, every picture I showed you, you were able to use these functions to create those different roofs. And there's my gazebo. Obviously not as pretty as this one in the picture, but one thing I did want to mention to you is this one program here. We are actually a strong sales partner and development partner with Struxoff, and they do framing. They will take your roof design, and using their MWF program, they can apply they will insert metal or wood studs right into your Revit model. So for those people who want every detail framing in there, that is possible, and you can do that with MWF. And again, they are a strong sales partner of ours and a development partner as well. Linda, did you want me to cover a little bit about the future training? All right, I'll go ahead and do that. For the most part, what we have here, training through Live Lab. If you go to the website, you'll be able to find different courses that we offer. This was a free 1-hour seminar to kind of give you a taste of some of the things that we cover. I've covered a lot of material in a short amount of time. Many of our other classes are actually much, much longer. We do have a class coming up next month called Revit for Residential Roof Design, which is 2 hours long. That one I will show you more realistic buildings and not the simple little squares, rectangular buildings that we see. We'll see more realistic buildings. We'll actually see some finished roofs, and we'll reverse engineer them because it's a lot easier to cover more material by reverse engineering the existing roofs. You've already seen a little bit how to place roofs. Now we'll show you how to work with roofs at different levels. Some of the other courses that we also offer, Revit Architecture Fundamentals. For those people out there who are not Revit users, I highly recommend you take our Revit Architecture Fundamentals course. It's 5 half days, and just about all of our Live Lab learning classes are half-day sessions. So you come to training in the morning, we're done by lunchtime or a little bit after lunchtime, maybe 12:30, and then you got the rest of the day to get some work done and get caught up. Our architectural fundamentals, we cover everything in that 5 half-day session so that you can create an entire building with what you've learned in those 5 half days. The intermediate takes you a step further. If you need to make some custom objects, or maybe you want to work with site, you want to create some topo, some contour files to show your building, your residential model on a site, you can do that. We also show you how to work with other people using Revit. So collaboration is really important there. Revit Architecture Essentials for Commercial Interiors, not necessary for you residential guys, but we go into specific tools available for interiors. The Advanced class gets more into 3D custom families or AutoCAD blocks for the AutoCAD people out there. We also talk about how multiple people can work on a single project and take advantage of setting up links between multiple files and have them automatically update your model while you're working so that you know as other people are making changes, you can see them almost instantly. We still offer our Revit Architecture 2014 update class. It's 1 half day, 3.5 continuing education units. 2015 will be out in a couple months. So I encourage you, if you don't plan on upgrading to at least 2015, to take the 2014 update class. There are a lot of new features in 2014 you'd be surprised a lot of people still don't know about. We entered a competition a few months ago, and we were showing some people some things in Revit 2014, and some of our more experienced customers who've used Revit for years were not aware of some of the new features. I will say for those that do want to learn about residential roof design, make sure you have a good understanding of the fundamentals for Revit. Because a lot of what I covered today was so very, very fast, it's nice that if you have some understanding on many of the tools and options and how they work, so I don't have to kind of explain how they work from start to finish. And questions. Any questions out there?
Mark, this is Linda. I've got one question from John. He wants to know if you can make a triple gable from the hexagon. I just wanted to get into the details there.
Make a triple gable from the hexagon.
I think that might have been a reference to your gazebo.
Yeah. If you're talking about a gazebo that has 3 different slopes, you can do that. Just like I did 2 2 roofs, I can do 3 roofs. Or, again, there is an option where you can do roof by mass. And with the mass, I could make it any shape I want and then apply a roof to it. So I can get you there. There might be 2 or 3 different ways to get you there, but it's probably not going to be with just one straightforward roof command. It's probably be a combination of 2 different commands, 2 or 3. So yes.
I'd like to thank everybody for joining us today. We have a few more minutes for questions. Get them in. I would just give you one more minute to get those questions in. We appreciate your time today. We hope you found this webinar informative and enjoyable. Look for an email from us very soon with a link to the recorded version of this webinar for future reference. Please be sure to go to our website, livelablearning.com, or like us on Facebook so you can find out about our special offers and exclusive live lab content. We appreciate your time. Somebody's asking what is the web address. It's livelablearning.com. And if you have any further questions, please try to reach us at sales@asti.com. We'll see if we can answer your questions offline. We appreciate your time today. This completes today's webcast.
Great. Thank you, everybody.